So we're on our way to New York to pick up my transmission and converter from Select. So typically we take it out every single year and have it refreshed, but the last 2 years, I guess because of COVID so much, we haven't been able to do that, where we had a lifetime warranty with one of the companies and they've just been slammed. So we had a friend do it this year just to get us to halfway through the season, and we still wanted to fix some things in the trans, and now Eddie got it, and it was quite an overhaul with it. We didn't expect everything to happen to it that it did.
We never really ran that long without having the transmission serviced and freshened up.
Yeah, it's not like your typical Chevy transmission. It's not like your Glide or your Turbo 400 where it's heavy. It's hard because it's a C4, it's a small package. They take great power, but we've found that when you're foot braking the converter and the transmission, you're not really as hard on it as you are with the trans brake, which everybody's probably like, yeah, duh. But like really with the foot brake, we could go years without refreshing that transmission because we raced more when we foot braked, but it wasn't nearly as hard. But with the trans brake, it was burning up clutch packs. Your bands always need to be tightened. And we weren't even racing nearly as much because we pretty much went into Super Street. We had 1 year and then COVID hit, so we ran a shortened season in 20, and then in 21, even though things kind of went back to normal, we weren't able to do bracket racing because everything was just so stacked on the NHRA side. And then this past year, it was kind of like the same thing. There was only a handful of bracket races that we could have gone to, and we just didn't really have the time to go to it. Like, we just kind of took the 1 or 2 weeks that we did have off to just kind of go over the car. But this year, I'm like, we're pulling out the stops. We're going back to bracket racing. We're definitely going to do some class racing. Stick with that. That's going to be what we do mostly, and then our Mid-Atlantic stuff. But we definitely want to take a return to bracket racing, probably with the dragster, though. But we're still having a hard time getting hardware for the rear. So...
After how long?
Yeah, it's been over a year. It's been about 1.5 years that we've been struggling to get hardware for the rear because we had everything, but a couple of the stuff that came with the car was stripped, and we just didn't want to put that in there, and obviously. And then we did lose one, and we have one bushing. We have no idea where it went. We checked everywhere, and we can't find it. Checked underneath the trailer and everything. So we figured it's better to be safe than sorry. Just order extras, have it in case we need it. And the stuff showed up this week, and it's wrong. So now that has to go back, and now we have to try to figure that out.
We even sent him a picture of the part that we needed.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Sorry, phone shaking too. We're on the turnpike, but hopefully we'll be out in the dragster because there's some bracket racing I would like to do. Like Lebanon Valley Divisional is just out of the question because it's too close to the end of the school year. But ACO has Party in the Pines. It's like $25,000 to win, so I want nothing more to be in my dragster for that. But at my home track, no less. Yeah, for whatever reason, there's a moose on the flyer. I don't think we have moose. I don't know if that's the plural form. I should probably look that up. But I don't think we have those in the state of New Jersey. So it's just kind of funny that there's a moose on the flyer. Deer, yes, lots of deer, especially in the Pine Barrens. But moose, I can't say I've recalled seeing a moose in New Jersey. But I have to say, I hope it's on the big check. To have a moose on there, that would be pretty cool. Just have a picture of the moose on the big check next to your name. But, so, it's a long ride up to Eddie's at Select. We left probably about 6 o'clock. It's 6:30 now. And we're just hoping we beat the traffic. So, the stuff we do on Saturday, on our day off.
You're never going to stop off at SK Speed because we have to.
And it's like 5 minutes from Eddie's shop, SK Speed. So that's pretty cool. But then tomorrow, goal is to put in my new Team Z steering column, which I'm kind of happy to put that in, not just because it's Team Z and it's great quality, but I get to get rid of that stock steering column, so I don't have to plug the trans brake in every single pass anymore, because it used to rip out every time I turned the wheel. And it's lighter, not by much, but it is.
It's lighter.
Yeah, but not by much, but it is.
No, it's lighter.
And then the other thing is too, not so much when I ran the car on the throttle stop, but when I ran it off the stop, since it was so messed up, and this was just like, we didn't even really realize it because I've only done maybe 10 all-out passes this year. At the end of the season, when I went to run it all out, it just immediately left and went left. And I had to like counter steer because there's so much play in the steering wheel. And we had an alignment on it a couple years ago, so the alignment is probably, yeah, it's all in the column. The alignment's good, but it's all in the column, which it has happened to us a couple times before, so we're glad to fix that now with TMC's stuff. But I mean, I'll tell you, I had it in maybe 2 or 3 days, and I ordered it on like a Thursday or something, and I think it was at my door on a Tuesday. So to order it late in the week and then have it when you know they're not doing mail on Sunday, to have it on a Tuesday, it's pretty cool. So I'm glad to see it. Our Zeus's just came in because we're putting a new hood on the car. So that's going to be nice because I should probably be able to take this one off by myself now, because in our last hood, I've only taken it off myself one time, and it was terrifying because it was like 35 pounds.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a well-built hood.
Oh, it's a beautiful hood. I loved that hood. It kills me to get rid of that hood.
But it takes 6 people to take it off the car.
Yeah, it's very heavy, and it's just, since it's so long, it's hard to get your gripping right with your hands, and it's like, it's not even just like the weight, but because of the weight and the way that you have to grab it to pull it up, the width, like, you just don't feel comfortable taking it off by yourself. It was also putting dents in my roof whenever we had to put it on top of the car. Like, we always had a tarp, I guess I would say this term is, like a little cushion pad.
Yeah, there's a foam pad that Ford sends their plastic bumpers in with that. Actually, stuff works pretty good if you have a friend in a body shop.
Yeah, we also use it for the back of the car, for like the mini bike and stuff.
Ask them for that stuff because it's dense foam with a...
And it's like Ford blue.
Yeah, it's a Ford blue cover on it, so you Chevy people might get a little bit upset. It is good.
It's a nice pad, though.
You need to protect something. Just, you know, find a friend with a body shop and say, hey, you got any of that stuff that you're going to throw out? You know, just...
Yeah, so even with that, it was still denting the roof. So right now, my car's dad is painting my car. Not all of it, but it's going to get a complete paint job, hopefully. Most of the car, I would say you have probably 3/4 of the car in the body shop.
Yeah, if we got time, the whole car will get done, but to be honest with you, nobody really realizes how long body work takes. Even when you don't have a lot of body work to do, it's just, it's the prep work, and prep makes the paint. So
yeah, if you don't prep it right, the paint's not going to look good.
And then when you still got to go over a rear, throw a transmission in, build an engine, put an engine in, and then paint a whole car. And unfortunately, there's this thing called work that gets in the middle, in the way of your racing. Mm-hmm. You know, we have that to do also. So
it's another reason we're not at Gainesville. Because even if we were ready, we could have pushed to probably be ready, but it just, it's too hard with work. And then I don't like driving down to Florida untested. I guess that's a big risk because a lot of the stuff we do out of pocket, and it just doesn't make sense to take a risk like that to drive down there untested. Even though we didn't change a whole lot this year.
We've done it a couple of times, and
but we've always done it when we've had experience too.
We've been on the fortunate side of doing it, but
like when we did Piedmont a couple years ago.
Like the song says, luck runs out.
Like when we did Piedmont a couple years ago, like we went down there with 2 passes on the engine, and yeah, it was a big risk. But I also raced the entire season. Well, Piedmont was at the end of the season, so I was reasonably confident.
It now weighed 100 pounds more because it was the aftermarket block, so we threw 100 more pounds on the nose, and we didn't know what it was going to react.
Yeah, and it's just like, but like I also raced the whole season, so like I felt comfortable. But like to jump back into the car and it's like, okay, you get 3 time shots because you know that we weren't going to make it down for the test day. You got 3 time shots. Now go run first round in Florida, where we've never raced that far south. We've raced North Carolina a couple times, but Florida, you get those crazy weather patterns. So like, I don't know what Florida's weather's like. I wasn't there testing. I wasn't figuring out the swing.
Not as bad, but we don't
Still though, you don't know the swing and stuff, so like you don't want to take that risk, and everybody's gonna probably give me hate for this.
Indianapolis was a huge risk because we dropped the compression down like what?
Yeah, Indy was another one.
2.5, 3 points, and we had a big chunk out of the summer.
Yeah, when we did Indy a couple years ago, we hurt the engine 2 weeks before.
Yeah, we dropped the
got the engine back in. week
route.
before, went to Mid-Atlantic, had issues Saturday. Sunday, won first round, had a red light second round, but the car went like an 84, and I've never run that timer before. Like, we put a whole different throttle stop on, and I just threw a number in it, and it went an 84. So I just entered us to go to Indy, and I said to my dad, I'm like, do you want to go to Indy? And he's like, no, not really. And I was like, well, I already entered us. So we went to Indy, tested at Maple Grove right before, only got a handful of passes, and then went out there cold. And obviously Indy's slower because you're going into the west.
And a chunk out of the cylinder.
Yeah, so I just took out a 10th or 2 tenths, and the car only slowed down a 10th, and we ended up going to the quarterfinals. So it was kind of worth it to make the trip out there. But like, sometimes there's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. And we were racing at the time, but now I haven't been in the car since October, so it didn't make sense it just didn't make sense. And work is a little bit more important because that's what supports the racing.
Yeah, and you're teaching kids.
Yeah, and their state test is coming up, so I have to make sure they know what they're doing. So I know a couple of them are watching this, so make sure you do your best on the state test. But yeah, I mean, it's already March, so we only have a couple months left, and then they're going on to middle school, so I have to make sure they're ready for that. So it's just more important that I prioritize that right now. But we're still in New Jersey. We're at I would say central New Jersey. That's going to be another one I'm going to get
for. Argument King Barry's. There is no central New Jersey. It's either north or south.
Well,
just the argument is, where does the line start?
To us, this is North Jersey, because we say anything south of the Columbus Mart is South Jersey, anything north of the Columbus Mart is North Jersey. But everybody has a different point. I think I should be careful with my wording here, but I think Governor Murphy did claim that there was a Central Jersey in his map. So I don't know. I thought the map changed too. So I guess it's whatever he felt like that week.
Yeah, well, he claims what the people claim are two different things. You know. Like,
yeah.
I guess you got to go by, like where the Philly fans stop and where the Mets fans.
And that's where I would say it kind of shows up. Giants.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Where Eagles and Giants cross. It's more so football. So I would say Columbus is where you get more of the Giants people.
You stick in ball sports, so at least I got the seasons right. It's coming up to baseball season.
Yeah. And our area is pretty much Philly dominated, so I'm going to say we're South Jersey. And then Columbus Mart, we know a couple people that are Giants fans, so we're going to lump them in with the Northerners. But, so, it's probably going to be another, I would say, 2 hours to New York to get this transmission, and the converter, which they didn't do an adjustment on it, they just refreshed it.
Yeah, open it up, make sure everything was fine.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we'll be doing how to get yourself in the ballpark with choosing a torque converter video.
Yeah, that's a big one, because there's another guy who's got a Ford right now that just built his engine, and he just dropped it in, and you can definitely tell his converter is not right for the application. So we figured maybe doing a whole converter video on how to choose the right one, and how to get your converter guy the information he needs to build you the right converter would be important, because I know that's something we learned when we bought my car. It had an off-the-shelf converter, and it actually didn't work too bad, but when we built my newer 347 with the aftermarket block, it needed a new converter, and I sent this guy as much as I could. Like, we didn't have a race pack or any of that stuff, but we did have dyno runs, several of them. We did have on the chassis, we did have several passes. I had, yes,
videos of the tach.
Yeah, we had videos of the tach, which honestly sometimes I think that's more important, because, and he actually did get upset because we didn't have engine dyno charts, but actually I think it's more important to have videos of the tach, because you can see where it's stalling, you can see what it's trapping at, you can see what the car's revving to, what the fallback on the shift is. And I gave him as much as I could, and I didn't expect it to be right, obviously, because converters are a very finicky thing.
Yeah,
I don't like dealing with them.
Yeah, normally when you do get a custom converter, Yeah, they're going to require an awful lot of information. The less information you give them,
the more likely it is that it's going to be wrong. So
and they normally do give you one free stall speed change, and after that, you're paying. And not only that, you're taking an out count this time. So the more accurate you can be on the information that you give them, the better, the closer this thing's going to hit to your combination.
Yeah, and what happened basically with us, and this is where we kind of really learned who to trust, was we were quoted $750 and it ended up being $1150 when we got there. We were told it's a winner. Then 2 seconds later, we were told it may be too tight. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but then he said next time build a Chevy. And at that point, we probably should have just handed it back.
Yeah, that's what our Chevy friend,
just gave it back to him.
That's when our Chevy friend said to us, you should have handed it back right there because you should have known it was wrong. And the worst part about it is, even when I initially spoke to the guy, I said, this is going to be a Ford. Are you okay with that? And I'm not saying it
because a lot of people don't like to do Fords, and that's totally fine. It's the same thing with Mopars.
Yeah, because if they're not good at it, like you know, if you got a 340 Chrysler and you take it to a guy that's known, you know, to be a small block Chevy expert, and he's only maybe just did a refresh on a 340 Chrysler, how do you expect him to make power with that? He doesn't know. I mean, like, the connecting rod is so long on a 340 Chrysler, he's going to look at that and go, I'm used to working with 5.7 rods. I don't know how this thing's going to breathe.
And I mean, that's the thing too, like Chevys, most of the time, they're high cubic inches, where with Ford, you know you're on the lower cubic inch side, but you know you're going to make power elsewhere. And I've always found Fords to end up reasonably close to Chevys, but that's just me. But anyway,
but again, like what Alvin Calhoun said, the headquarters, you can't make Ford power with a Chevy mentality.
Yeah, for sure. If you are trying to copy or follow somebody similar with a Chevy's build and then you have a Ford, it's not going to work. And vice versa, it's not going to work. But anyway, so we put the converter in this guy's custom, my first custom. Put a really bad taste in my mouth after this. And it slowed down probably about half a second to a second. One pass, it was half a second. The next pass, it was a second. And we chased it for months. We set our car on fire, literally, and the trailer. Because one, it wrecked my confidence. I didn't think I could drive. Two, we thought it was carburetor issues. And one day I was like really sick and I had to race the next day. So I was home resting, and Dad had the trailer at ACO, and he was over here playing around with the carburetor, trying to get the carburetor right. And a whole bunch of fuel just dumped out of the carburetor, got caught in the diaper and everything, and he accidentally went to crank the car and start the car, and it just went up in flames. And luckily, the guys from ACO came over with fire aid and they got it out, and the only thing we lost was the diaper. It's still actually stuck to the floor of our trailer.
To top it off, we had the car still tied down in there, so like when I got the trailer out, and then like I got everything out, and then the diaper went up, so that like I had to sit there and unhook the car with the diaper on fire, push the car back out push the car out. And ACO's getting ready to close, so they like looked over, like, hey, what's glowing over there?
Yeah, and after that, we've had motorsports insurance.
Yeah, Len and Tyler came over, and you know, it was like one little shot with the fire aid. It was like out. I was out. I was out of the extinguisher at that point. You know.
Yeah, so we were very lucky that I was able to walk away with everything but a diaper. I will pay $300 again for a diaper. But after that, we just said, you know what, we're done with this guy, because he was just kind of messing around with us when it came to an adjustment.
He was dragging his feet about the stall speed adjustment. I mean, I will say this though. I mean, like, I missed his text message about 2 weeks after we got the converter.
Yeah, but it also took a full 10 days to get him to say send it to my house.
You know, yeah. But so, no, I'm talking in the beginning. I mean, but and then
yeah, I know. But after we requested an adjustment,
the message went to a black hole. You know, but
I mean, that car was going 1070s, and then it slowed down to like 1110 to 1170s. It would swing half a second in one run. And no, it was not me not knowing how to drive, because I've heard myself before and after.
We tried 3 different carburetors.
Yeah, we had a gazillion different carburetors on the car.
Our carbs, and then our friends were loaning us carbs, because we're like, this car works. Like
couldn't stage the car. That was another big clue. I couldn't stage the car. Foot braking. If I tried to bring it up over 1800 RPM, it leapt right through the beam. Yeah, I mean, I'll do a whole more in-depth detail video on how to choose the right converter.
And that's why.
But after that, we went to BTE, who in one try got it down to 1075 in 98 degree weather, because we took it to Island to test that day, and it was 98 degrees with 96% on the humidity. And we were pretty happy with that. The next year or two after that, I can't really remember. We followed the guy who built the converter because he left companies and got it refreshed. And after that, I think we broke the stator in it after 50 passes. We're not 100% sure because we've never. Oh, we forgot that at home. We were gonna bring the converter. See what happens.
Yeah.
We were gonna have them cut it open and see what went wrong, but yeah. So that broke after 50 passes. So we think we broke it because they put an aluminum stator in, and it was refreshed and everything. It was brand new. But after that happened, we couldn't find the guy because then he left that company, and I think he started his own, but we're not 100% sure. I mean, I still had his contact information from Facebook and stuff, but I just figured, well, we'll try Select. I know they make great stuff. I need it back. Like we sent him my spare converter, and I'll tell you, I'm surprised at the work that they did because it was very confusing. Because I told you I had the off-the-shelf converter, and then I had my custom converter, and I wanted my off-the-shelf converter built like my custom converter. So I sent them the core, and I sent them this long, like 8-page email, and I'm like, I want it built like this, but this converter that I'm sending you does this, but I want it built like this, and this is the specs that we have on this. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna come back and be so wrong, just because like I'm sending him stuff from what the converter did, and then what the other converter did, and I'm like, this is gonna be so wrong. Like, and it's not on him. It was just hard to follow. And I'll tell you, it came back, and it was pretty close. I would say the only thing was for that 347 we were running, it just needed to be a little bit, I don't know, tighter, I guess. Or it was a little bit too loose, I guess. Then when we put it behind the 363, it tightened it up. Yeah. But we were closing out with the 347 for a handful of passes anyway. He knew we weren't going to run the 347 the next season. He knew we were going to the 63. So at the end of the day, it all worked out because I only had to close out like 5 races with it. It wasn't wrong. It ran the number. It was great. It just, there was a little bit of power left on the table, but that was okay because for the next year, it was perfect. So maybe not perfect, but like it was as close to perfect as I could have asked for.
To get it perfect.
Because he didn't know exactly what we were doing yet with the 363, and I mean now it's like great behind the 363, and it's going to be even better because he just refreshed everything. So
yeah, and the difference between the first custom converter and the closer to being correct, because like I said, they're probably never really 100% perfect.
And they're never built 100% the same again. You can ask for the exact same converter. It will never be 100% the same.
Second and a half difference. People thought we swapped the engines.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
People were convinced that we swapped the engine.
And the only reason why we really commented on that guy's video, since we lit our car and the trailer on fire thinking it was a carburetor issue, when he closed his video out saying he thought it was carburetor ignition, I'm like, he goes down that road, he's going to probably light his car on fire. So we just figured we'd try to help him out. And we got days later, we got a reply, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not, you know, like I'm just trying.
We don't like to be those people that tell you how to make adjustments to your car. Because, like, we get those people all the time that are like, oh, well, you're not hitting the tire right, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. And sometimes I think it is to help us because people wouldn't take the time out of their day to say things to help without to like hurt you. But what people have to realize though is too, sometimes they're bracket racing and we're running class, so it's a totally different hit on the tire, especially with how we have our throttle stop, which is a little more unconventional than how some other people have their stuff. I don't want to go into much more detail on it. But
and the other thing is too, is like part of the fun of this, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. Part of the fun of this is figuring it out. Like, you know, we could wants this thing to be a rocket down the quarter mile, get 17 miles to the gallon, and run on pump gas. That's a tall order.
Yeah, it's a lot you're asking
That's
for.
a really tall order. I mean, it'd be just easier to make it a street car, or, you know, and then, oh yeah, you know, like it'll be a 12-second truck, you know, or whatever, you know, or make it a track car. But to sit there and, you know,
Try to ask for everything.
yeah, try to ask for everything, that's going to be a tall order for that converter guy. So if he figures it out, it's going to be a nice build. And if he doesn't figure it out, it was a tall order, you know, like there's probably ways he can accomplish it, but he might have to throw more money at it to do it, that's all.
Yeah, so we're going to do a whole video on converters, because we don't want to be those people on YouTube that are just here to make money. Like, we want to actually help people, because, like, I know when I started, there wasn't too much knowledge, I guess, on YouTube, and then I think there started to be a change where, like, you could get that knowledge, and now it's kind of shifting into people just want to make money. So definitely going to do that. We have some things that we're in talks with that we want to hopefully release at some point this year, but we'll see. We were talking to some people the other day about it, but we're getting up there, so I'll come back after we pick up the transmission and the converter, just like show you what everything looked like, and then any information that we pulled out from Eddie, like, we'll definitely try to share, because I know 2 seasons going on the C4, if it could help a Ford racer understand that if they're using a trans brake and they're hard on their stuff, what you need to do to refresh it to get it right.
You can't put a lot of clutch packs in those drums. They're kind of, you know, the beautiful thing about it, everything's small and light, but the unfortunate thing about it is the power levels that everybody's making now.
I mean, and it can take power. It can take power.
You just got to do some maintenance on it. That was the nice thing about the previous company, is that they would put a lifetime guarantee on it. And
but now they don't answer the phone.
Reasonably close to them, where we could get it to them, just drive it down and not pay the shipping to sit there and do it. And if it needed clutches, they put it in. If it didn't need clutches, he didn't put it in. You know, like, and they do the band adjustment and things like that. It was like having a transmission guy on your race team. But unfortunately now, when we decided to turn the whole world off for 2 years, you know, like, they're in a jam right now, and it's a shame, because, like, before this all happened, if you go on their videos, like from PRI, what they were going to do with the C4 is they were really getting to the point where there was going to be no Ford parts in a C4. And I don't know how that program's going to be running right now, since they had to shut everything down. You know, and it'd be a shame for them to have to walk away from that project. You know, so, like, I'm not really, you know, like, we're upset, you know, that, you know, we paid for this warranty for all intents and purposes somewhere in the price of this converter, but,
and this is a lot of money to refresh it.
Yeah, and now
to get it right.
And now we can't go back to them. It's not their transmission anymore, you know. But on the flip side, it's, you know, I don't want to see the company go out of business, because, you know, okay, you know, like, it wasn't their idea to shut the world down, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were running fine before all that happened.
So we'll come back after we pick up the trans and the converter, so you can see what everything looks like now that's refreshed, not that we had stuff before, and we can explain to you a little bit more what was done, and hopefully it can help. If it just helps one person, that would be pretty cool. So hopefully it can help some people out, but we'll come back in a little bit.
Saving, you are such a pretty man.
So basically, we have this to help us like start the car when we're outside the car. Like Dad, if he's doing like a valve adjustment or something, I have on the other side too, which is kind of cool. This is our Team Z K member. We might be switching to motor mounts next year. We'll see. But I swear by this because before, when I bought this car, it had a different key member in it. We're not exactly sure who, but I broke that sucker like 3 or 4 times, and we fixed it and we just kept breaking it. So the next season we switched to Team Z, and it's been great. Holds up fantastic. It can take a lot of power, but obviously motor mounts are the way to go if you are doing some type of high horsepower application, and if you have pretty good 60 foots, depending on how you hit the tires. So we do want to switch to motor mounts, but for now, we're going to keep running the K member. But yeah, Team Z's steering column that we're trying to fish through right now, it's like significantly lighter than the stock steering column. It's more round, which helps because the stock steering column, you can see, which is over here, is kind of a square. So my trans brake wire kept getting ripped off if I didn't unplug it. So I had to unplug it and replug it in before the burnout every single time, because you could just look at it, it's just the way that it was going to catch, it was just going to rip it right off, even if you turn it the way it's kind of supposed to be turned. Which is this way. Just going to rip it right off. So glad to get rid of it. It feels like it's at least 5 pounds heavier than the Team Z's. But I mean, they give you everything. You get the strange hardware with it. So it's definitely well worth the money to make the switch to Team Z's steering column with the box body. And they get it to you quick. I mean, I had it in probably 2 or 3 days, and I ordered it on like a Thursday. I think I had it by a Tuesday. Yeah. So to have it that fast is pretty cool because it's also coming from Michigan. So definitely convenient. I know some other companies sell the exact same product. I know some are out of stock, or some take it a little bit longer to get it to you. So if there's that, working hard. If you're in that type of racing, or you have a car that's a G body, a Fox body, they're doing Focus stuff now. So if you have something that fits one of their needs, it's definitely F body Camaro. Definitely worth considering making the switch to Team Z because their stuff's high quality. You will definitely see an improvement. But I mean, even just 5 pounds on steering column. And here I inserted the seat belts that we just got back from Pro One for the recert. So that was me taking 20 minutes to put them back.